Hey everybody, welcome back to Rusty Guns. So this video is on rebluing the pieces. So lots of different methods on bluing. I'm going to be using somewhat type of cold bluing method for this. And so basically what we're going to do is this is the bluing solution here. There's many different brands of bluing solution out there. So this is partially the Birchwood Casey and another one, Oxbow Blue that I bought. They're kind of mixed together. I just like the combination of those two together. We'll also be using some quadruple aught steel wool, some rubbing alcohol, and cotton balls, and maybe Q-tips. But basically, before I go, I want to show you guys the pieces now that they're done, that they're ready to be blued. So if you remember from the last video, there's the cylinder now. There is the barrel. There's the frame. So, and once I get to this point, there's like the trigger, there's the latch, trigger guard. So anyway, we're just going to do this so that you can see the process. Once I get to this point, I put gloves on, and the first thing I'll start off with is I'll go ahead and go back over this. And the reason for the gloves is just simply I don't want the water from my hands or any oils that my hands pick up to get on here. And this is just, and I'm just doing this to give it like a last final little polish before I do it. It's already, I know it's already pretty polished, so I don't really have to worry about it. But so that, then we'll use a cotton ball, and we're gonna soak that in the rubbing alcohol. And this will now clean off any oils, any dirt that's left on the cylinder. And you'll see that there's some still on there. Most of it's probably from that piece of steel wool that I just put on there, but we're gonna soak it down real good. It's not much, there's a little bit. I'm gonna let this air dry for a second. Whew, alcohol strong. Got a big whiff of it. And then the next thing I do is, typically once this dries, most people, prepping is the most important thing when you blue it. So once it's to this point, most people just will dunk it in the bluing solution. It kind of gives the best coverage for it. What I usually like to do is once this completely dries, and I don't want to set this on anything while I'm doing this, I want to hold it in these gloves because if I set it on something, I could be setting it on something that's oily or whatever, so I want to keep it suspended if I have to. Anyway, like I said, most people will dunk it. It gives the best coating on it. Small pieces like this though, you can still use a cotton ball or something and you'll get a nice, good, even coverage on small pieces like this. You know, if you're doing like a whole barrel on a shotgun or something like that, then you know, a complete submerge is the best way to get a nice even coat on it. But once this is dried out, I think it's dried, yeah. Once this is dried out, then I heat this piece up. And what I typically use is, some people, I've seen people put this on stoves and stuff. Again, I don't want to get anything on the metal. That's the whole point of this. I don't want to get anything on this outside metal when I do the bluing. So I use like a small space heater to heat this up, and I'm not trying to get it red hot or anything. I'm just heating the metal up. So let me go do that real quick and we'll come back. Actually, while I'm letting that heat up, the process in which you're bluing this, so you're going to submerge it or you're going to coat it in your bluing. And then what I typically do is I run it under cold water, and that kind of neutralizes the rest of the bluing agent that's on it, because bluing is nothing more than an actual corrosion of the metal. It puts a thin layer of corrosion actually on the metal, and that's what prevents the rusting and everything from happening. But anyway, so I run that under cold water to deactivate the rest of that, and then we go over it with steel wool. Quadruple aught is what I use, to brighten it up and to see what it looks like. And then if we need to, we'll reapply or resubmerge it. Typically you want to apply or submerge it for up to 60 seconds. You can do it longer if you want. So all right, let me get back to that piece and make sure that it's hot enough now. All right, so she's nice and hot enough now. So now we'll go ahead and blue this, and I'm just going to submerge this by dunking it. And we're just going to let it sit in there. Okay, that's been blued, and now I have it setting, and it's sitting above my jar. So it's letting any excess drip off, and then I do this because I let the air hit it and finish off the bluing part of it. And, it's been submerged for some time, but as that bluing starts to dry up, it's going to change color. Actually, I guess I can show you while I'm doing this so you guys can see what it looks like right now. So right now, that is what it looks like. Make sure I don't drip stuff anywhere. Okay, so here's a little bit of how that bluing now looks once it starts to dry up, the outside edge of it. So there we go, the first round's done. It's a little hard to see. It's still really light. It'll be done again, but let's see if we can see it. I'll stay back out of light enough. See, it's a little bit darker shade. It's a lot darker me looking at it here than what you guys can see, but I promise you it is darker. And then we will just do this again. We'll dry this out as much as we can, and then we will go. I didn't really buff it out very much, so next time when I do this, I'm not going to dunk it. I'm just going to use a cotton ball to show you guys that similar process that I use when I do that. So I'm just dipping the cotton ball in it and soaking it. And I literally just saturate it, and you just work it in. Keep working it back and forth and working it into it. Sometimes you can use steel wool to do this as well. You can use that for it. I've used steel wool on some pieces where the bluing just doesn't seem to want to take as well, and using the steel wool seems to make it work a little better. Other pieces, just a normal cotton ball will do the trick. So kind of just depends on the gun. Man. With older guns like this, since this gun is like nearly 100 years old, the metal that the steel that this gun is made out of is not the same kind of steel that is used to make guns nowadays. I mean, the way they made steel back then is completely different. So what works for an older gun may not work as well for a newer gun. Doesn't make it any worse or any better, I don't think. I think it just makes it different. And with me doing that steel wool and coming back with this, it's just, I'm just trying to get everything nice and even. I want everything to look nice and even. Alright, so we're going to let this dry, and then we'll go run it under some cold water. Okay, so after the second round of bluing, let's show you this. So there's that piece. So now you can see it's much darker now. And show you another piece that is blued. So this is a piece that was from the original. This is the little spring that was this is the spring inside the handle, or inside the grip, and it's a blued piece of metal. So that's the way the original bluing was. in the gun. So kind of show you guys that. And that's without me doing any polishing yet to it. So when I go to polish this, it'll probably lighten up a little bit more, and we'll probably hit it one more time with the bluing, and by then we should be pretty good. Again, none of this is a hard process to do. It's just time consuming. So you just need to take your time with it. Getting down on those little spots in there is pretty hard to do. You can see it brightened it up a little bit. But it is still darker than, well, it looks brighter, but in this game camera, trust me, it's darker. You'll be able to tell once I post all the before and after pictures and all that. No, that's not dirt in there, that's just excess bluing coming off. All right, so let's dip this on this round. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Close enough. Let it sit and dry. Do it again. Be back in a minute. Okay, third round of bluing before we polish it, before we hit it with steel wool. And we'll just brighten this out. Maybe I will even go darker with this. Still, it's blued. It's not dark enough. Not where I want it yet. So, well, so like I said, so basically that's it. And you just keep repeating the process like this. It's still not quite dark enough where I want it. I mean, it's darker and it looks 1,000 times better than when I bought the gun, but I want it a little darker, so I'll just keep continuing this process. Okay, so that's basically the whole process on this. I went ahead and coated this a 4th time because I just want it a little bit darker. But that's the whole process. You just keep doing the same thing over and over again until you get it to a shade that you're comfortable with or that you like. If you like that shade, you can go ahead and oil it and then let it sit. But what I typically do is, because I've noticed that a lot of times parts will tend to darken over 24 hours. So once I get it to a shade that I like, I typically just, I do the whole steel wool thing, and then if I'm kind of happy with that color, I let it sit out overnight, no oil on it. I just let it sit. And I see how much it darkens up. That way, if I want to blue it again, I can. If you oil it, and then you decide, oh, I want it darker, you got to strip all that oil off. And if you don't get every bit of it off, the bluing's not going to hold right, and you're going to have a big pain in the butt, and you're going to be wasting a whole lot more time. So my best suggestion is let it sit out overnight, check it the next day, see if it's still the same color that you want. If not, you can darken it up some more, or you can just go ahead and oil it if you're happy with it and be done with it. But that's my suggestion for you, because it's something I notice on a lot of videos. Guys just immediately go to oiling it and stuff, and I'm telling you, I've seen it over and over again where the parts darken up a little bit by the next day. So just let it sit out overnight. It's not going to hurt anything. It's 24 hours. It's just one day. You can let it sit out and then check it the next day. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me, guys. Take care. The next Workday Wednesday, I don't know if it'll be this coming Wednesday or the one after, but it'll be where we have all the parts done and we reassemble the gun and we take it outside and bang, bang. So take care, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.